You're getting closer to pushing me off a life's little edge.
G'day guys, Chaos Chronicles. Alright, so today we're going to have a chat about paperwork checking and who can and can't do that. So I got a question, and the question was, who can paperwork check me? Does it have to be a Trump? So before I start, if you guys ever hear me say Trump, it is a word that doesn't really get used in Victoria. It does a little bit, but a Trump is somebody who is, like, say, usually in these scenarios you would say the boss, but seeing as it's prison, boss isn't applicable. But they're the people that are running shit, and they've made it to being a Trump running shit, hard. You can't be running shit in a prison. There are people that, get high places in prison and high stature in prison because they bring in drugs or whatnot, but that can only get you so far. Now these Trumps, they have earned that spot, and that's why they're there, and until someone else wants to challenge them on that, they will be the Trump until they get challenged on it. So the Trump is the person who is, the leader of the unit. And so the question is, can anyone paperwork check you? And the absolute truth to that is 1,000,000% yes. And you should expect to get paperwork checked by anyone. And like I've said in other videos as well, like if you are going to prison and you have something to hide, you are 1,000,000% going to get found out. There's no way you can keep like charges and stuff like that secret in prison. Like people, do keep it a secret 100%. There's no two ways about it. People keep it a secret, but they're lucky. And so anyone can do a paperwork check. And here's the thing, so like if you were in my unit and I didn't know who you were, I'm going to be paperwork checking you, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be spending all day every day with a police informant, a sex offender, a scotch tapist, a kitty toucher, something like that. I don't want to be spending any of my time with them people. And so, if you coming into my unit and you're going to be around me, I want to know who you are. And people will kick up a stink about that, but if you've got something to kick up a stink about your paperwork, it obviously means that you are hiding something, So, you should 100,000,000% expect to get a paperwork check. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but you should always have your paperwork on hand in case you do get paperwork checked. Now, if you're going to a maximum security and you're gonna be there for a bit, people are gonna want to see your paperwork. Like I said, I would want to see your paperwork, and so you should always have it on hand. And if you've got something in there that you think might be a little bit sus, well, if you think it is a little bit sus, then chances are that it's sus, and you should probably be very, very careful. So also, not having your paperwork on hand is a big thing as well. So like, say for instance, you're a new guy in my unit, my pod, whatever, my yard, I come up to you and I say, hey Basil Dean, can I have a check of your paperwork? And you say, oh no, I don't have it, I'm gonna have to get it sent or whatever. I'll say, yeah, no worries, you go get it sent by your mouthpiece, and then I'll come back and check in with you in a couple of weeks. And then you go and do that. So every single person who gets locked up for a charge is going to get what's called a brief, a hand up brief, whatever, which contains things like your previous charges. It's got all your prior history in it from the day you turned 18 until the present time. So anything you've ever been charged with and convicted of is going to be in that file right there. And it also has the charges on what you are charged for at that time, and then they're going to have a small summary of events, what they believe took place. And so everybody will get that. So what will happen is you will get arrested, and your lawyer will generally send that to you, and most of the time it will be waiting for you when you do your property. So always when you do your property, check to see if your paperwork's there. If you've got your paperwork, bring your paperwork with you, because you don't want to be rocking up into a unit with no paperwork and not being able to get your paperwork. I've seen some people end up in some pretty bad ways for this exact reason, you know, promising people that they're going to get their paperwork in, and for whatever reason their paperwork hasn't showed up on time, and then yeah, next thing you know, it is game on, you know. And yeah, I've got a soundboard right here. Anyway, so you know, you want to be rocking up with that, because people are going to be checking you, and if you don't have that by a certain amount of time, people are going to be pulling you up on it, and you more than likely you're going to be leaving that unit laying down, not standing up, and that's the reality of it, and that's the reality of prison. Do you know what I mean? It is the biggest, you know, if I can say this, dog eat dog world, you know. And that's exactly what it is. It's mano a mano. It's every man for himself against every other man in that prison. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And especially these days, like with the meth being so bad on the outside, like the caliber of crooks that are coming through the prisons is like hectic. And, you know, you got people that 10 years ago that were doing prison were before the meth epidemic, you know, we're doing it by the rules, and now there is hardly any rules in jail, and the rules that are rules, like, it's all messed up. You don't want to be going to jail full stop, but you especially do not want to be going to a Victorian prison right now. It is an absolute travesty, and like, you know, there is, you know, I'm not going to go into other videos, but like, you know, you have got to have your paperwork so people can see who you are. And the reason, this is the only reason, they just want to know who you are. They don't want to be walking around, you know, training around, eating with police informers, rapists, stuff like that, you know. So the paperwork check needs to always be there. And does it have to be a trump to paperwork check you? Absolutely not. So anyone that is in that prison, that is there with you, can paperwork check you and should paperwork check you. And like I said, especially these days, like, snitching is like almost like popular. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely crazy. There's like snitching against snitches, and it's not a snitch if you snitch on a snitch. Like, if you fucking snitch, you're a snitch. There's no two ways about it. It's as simple as that. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's the paperwork check. Do you have to be a trump to check someone's paperwork, or does someone have to be a trump to check your paperwork? The answer to that is no. And yeah, like I always say, guys, you don't want to be dealing with this bullshit. You don't want to be dealing with 10 guys wanting to know what you're in there for, and possibly, you know, if you speak on tape, and that is going to be in your brief too, if you speak on tape, that is seen as a lag in a lot of people's eyes, like a snitch. So if you even talk and you don't say no comment, if you go ahead and you continue that interview answering questions like normal, that can be seen as a snitch in a lot of people's eyes. And right up until this day, if you talk on tape, I know people that have ended up very, very badly for the exact same thing. They were a part of a crew. The crew's rules are you do not talk on tape. This guy has just answered questions, did not snitch anyone, didn't say a name, didn't say anything. This guy got filleted. I'm telling you, this guy's whole crew set upon him, and yeah, he was taken out. So if you don't want to be dealing with none of this bullshit, guys, do not do crime. It's all a facade anyway. Do you know what I mean? There are people out there right now that would do absolutely anything to get out of jail, and it seems like these days everyone's itching just to get in jail. Like, it's actually cool these days to say that you've been to prison. So, you know, I know when I was younger, it was I couldn't wait to get that stripe on my belt to say I'd been to prison. And yeah, it's absolutely not worth it. I have got absolutely nothing to show from 20 years of crime. Nothing except for scars and a couple of battle war stories. That's all I've got to show from 20 years of going absolutely mental ballistic hard on crime. Nothing to show from it. It's all fake. Do you know what I mean? It is not worth it, guys. Like I've been saying lately, put down the bag and pick up your kids. That's exactly what it's all about. Family, guys, because they're the ones that's going to be hurting when you're in prison. Trust me. Alright guys, I am out. I have been the Chaos Chronicles. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Ciao.
Hey, you're getting closer to pushing me off a life's little edge.